I'm just continuing on. Just want to say a few things. Now, I understand that some of the clips I've made in this series of post-Gnosticism may be complicated, overburied, the sort of clips you want to just push aside and not worry about. But what I am looking to emphasize to you is that what happened in the 1930s actually has a great bearing on the state of the world today. We've seen in Europe you got mass migration, but I can tell you this was planned in the 1930s. You've got the likes of Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi, who had a vision which was shared by what you would call the rich elite of Europe, to create a multi-racial Europe. But it wasn't in regards to separate races having their own separate groupings. It was racial interbreeding. In regards to the urantia book, the urantia book believes that this planet can only go to the next level in evolution only if there's an equality. Everybody has to be equal. And today we see this. Anti-discrimination laws, equal opportunity, anti-racial laws. You know, like I've been saying, this has been planned out since the 30s or possibly before that. And we are seeing it enacted today. But the likes of Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi wanted white Europe, or white Europeans, or anyone white, to basically be bred out. He had a vision of a global state and basically a new ancient Egypt, in which there would be a caste system, but at the top of the caste would be people who are primarily white. And Coudenhove-Kalergi was actually half Japanese. His mother was Japanese. His father was some sort of aristocrat from Austria, from what I understand. So he wanted an upper class of white Europeans, white Asians, and white Jews. But he also had a different vision for the Jews, that the Jews would be a spiritual caste over this earth, which is a contradiction because most Jews are in fact atheists. But you know, when you look at the 1930s, we saw a lot of things. Eugenics. Now people say, oh, it's out of Hitler, blah blah blah, evil white people. Actually, Hitler was a National Socialist, and he wasn't evil because he was a nationalist, he was evil because he was a socialist. And he borrowed the eugenics model from socialists before him. You know, these are the sort of people who believed in the likes of, you could say, the urantia book, but it wasn't published until 1955. But those who followed a similar bent, left wing, very rich, and very upper class. So for this series, I'm going to put in clips I made earlier. Thing is, I made these clips about 2.5 years ago, and no one's really been interested. I know I'm not the only one who knows about Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi or Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger, feminist hero, yay. She was actually quite an evil bitch. She wanted to kill off middle to lower class whites, so, or else breed them out. So we've got a global agenda which came in the 1930s. And thinking about it, what if Hitler had not triggered World War II? What if he had joined these people? Imagine what the world would have been like. Probably a good chance that you wouldn't have been born because your ancestors would have simply been killed. And that's probably true. So it's, you got the urantia book crowd, so to speak. Now, William Sadler, who, I said he has sociopathic tendencies, and I believe this is right. But he was someone who came up from nowhere. He's climbed a ladder, but he was greasing the rungs of the ladder so no one else could follow him. We're dealing with narcissistic people here. Now, post-Gnosticism is infecting not only established religions, but also the New Age movement. Okay, let me put it to you this way. You got William Sadler, who, with all his trillions of planets and universes and whatever. And you also got L. Ron Hubbard, started Scientology. While Sadler was all for psychology, psychiatry, controlling people. You got Hubbard, who was against psychology and psychiatry. So from these two, you've got like a pincer movement. Now, Scientology is basically atheist. Their concept of God is what's called the fifth dynamic. And actually, the Urantia book and Scientology use buzzwords and things like that. So, yeah, with the Urantia book you got a ultimate God called the Universal Father, which is vague. It doesn't got no name, no nothing. No, there's no concept of it. It's just something he's made up. But in the New Age movement, you ever heard this from like a New Age wannabe hippie or whatever, saying, oh, give your love to the universe and the universe will pay you back. This is a similar type thing. So it has, as Sadler designed, infiltrated. Slow moving, subversive, and you've got people redefining words. Jesus Christ is really Michael of Nebodon, whatever that is. Where you got people saying, "Oh, Jesus Christ was a poof, but he didn't exist." So we've got this reverse, you could say, anti-history occurring, and words are being redefined, and things like the Bible are being redefined, for whose benefit. But I'll give you an example of people I've encountered. I encountered a person who was at a social function, nothing specific, and the issue of immigration came up, and this guy was all for open borders, and then he said, "I'm all for open borders, but I'm worried about these Muslims." I said, "Well, you can't be for open borders if you're not going to allow Muslims in. And if you're not going to allow Muslims in, you can't have open borders." So he had these two contradictory points he was saying were simultaneously true. So I started to push him a bit, because I asked, here you are at this function, drinking wine, which Islam is against, but yet you are saying you're for open borders. Can't really say much about his social status, but let's say, I'm guessing upper middle class. I said, well, if Islam takes over here in Australia, then you won't be able to drink. You won't be doing all the things you are doing here at this social function. You know what he said to me? He said, "I don't give a shit. By the time Islam takes over, I will be dead. It doesn't matter." And then he said to me, "Oh, you'd be one of these bastards who convert to Islam." And, with Islam, I agree with some things, so it's the implementation which I don't approve of, the way it's enforced. And he held all these various points of view, and yet couldn't make any point from it. It's just make it up as you go along. Yeah, like Katy Perry. Anything to be socially hip. Now, at another social function I attended once, I encountered a guy. He was a pig of a person, and the subject of Prince Harry came up, about him being engaged to Meghan Markle. Now myself, I don't care either way. If Harry's happy, good luck to him. This guy was celebrating it, and it wasn't because Harry was happy. No. He said it's about time it happened. And he's saying, no, Meghan Markle has a black mother and her father is of Jewish ancestry. No, this is a good thing. I'm like, good for who? What, But the term you could use for this is shit in your ice cream. It's like Meghan Markle's the turd and the royal family are the ice cream. And this guy was boasting, he was pretty drunk. From what I learned, he was some sort of international businessman. White, like most of these people are. That includes the guy I told you about before. And he was boasting how he had a Jewish wife. He goes, I got a Jewish wife. She went to the best private colleges or whatever. And Harry's married a nigger, so I'm better than him. These are the sort of people who are what you call the children of those who subscribed to what was going on in the 1930s. So this is why I'm doing it, because these people are replicating. It's not some 18-year-old punk who's cut his dick off and calls himself Shirley or whatever who had a problem, but they're part of the problem. So what we are facing with now is the hippies from 50 years ago. They got haircuts, they put on suits and ties, they got rich through their hypocrisy. Now, before they die, they want to do this world over. That's their thing. And I ask, why? Because you're going to be, even if all these plans you have come true, you're going to be basically dead anyway. But maybe they have a reason to believe they won't be. So, with what I call post-Gnosticism, this isn't something that's just been planned over a posh dinner party or anything like that. This has been planned for a while. Now, when I was a Satanist, I tell you the mindset that we had. Sodom and Gomorrah was yesterday, and the expulsion from heaven was last week. This is the mindset we had. So the timing is irrelevant. So this has been building up for quite a while. People just, you can buy people now. People live in fantasy lands. And whenever a problem comes up, it's like, oh well, someone should do something about it. When you point out to them that only if the problem's affecting them, well, shouldn't they do something about it? And in response, oh well, what can you do about it? The victimhood and entitlement mindset is really set in. And, when you look at Revelation, you see a lot of things coming true. In practical Kabbalah, we hold that the tree of life and the tree of death are joined at this earth. Whoever gains this earth either retains their tree or creates their tree. And trying to tell people, but Most people don't give a stuff. They're embracing some sort of, it's either atheism or some sort of abstract pantheism. You got people trying to cut the dicks off their sons and call them Shirley, stuff like that. But white people are affected the most. You know, you find, I don't know, you could say anyone under the age of 30, any white woman in any major city, western city, I guarantee she's either got tattoos or fish hooks in her face. This is the reversal of order, because words are being redefined. She will say, I'm a proud feminist, but there's nothing feminine about her. But I'm going to put in the clips in this playlist that I made 2.5 years ago, and maybe you can relate to it, but I think it's something you should know about. And it's not only on YouTube I do these sorts of clips. I also burn them on CDs as video compact discs or whatever, and just put them out in public. So I'm going to put my YouTube URL and my email address, and you can take it from there. But I will continue on with this series.